This is Uptown Linkup. Once again, we have a very important person with us today. He's known for his great involvement as a philanthropist and many more things. I'm just going to allow Mr. Page to, tell us a little bit about who Mr. Rudi Page really is. Thank you for being here, Mr. Page.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Brother Sean, Brother Dean.
Okay.
And I must also introduce Mr. Dean Roden, one of our great, former Hermitage Citizen Association president, and he's also a member of the Jamaican diaspora. And it's nice to have you, Mr. Roden.
Thank you very much, Sean. And Mr. Page, when I see Mr. Page, I call Mr. Rudi Action Page. You have people with bag of mouth, but I call him Mr. Rudi. He's a man of action. Time will not allow us to tell you what of work is done. So it's an honor to be sitting beside such a great man. Thank you for having me on your program, sir.
Thank you very much. And just very quickly, Sean, my family on my father's side is from Harmony Hall in Highgate in St. Mary. It's the Page family. And my mother actually came from Montserrat, and then I was born here in London. So I've been coming to Jamaica for the last 30 years. And I studied Jamaican history deeply before I got to Jamaica. So I actually, one of my first trips, I remember, was Duns River Falls and a Kong Pong town. So I went up there over 30 years ago, sat down, listened to the oral history from the colonel at the time. We got on very well. And as I say, I'd studied a lot of Jamaican history anyway before I got to Jamaica. And so I've been involved heavily in activities. I was responsible for the first Domino World Cup in Jamaica in 1993.
I heard that.
At the Hotel. I was behind that, and then facilitated the first Nations Cup Domino tournament in Cuba, where we went over in a boat. In those days, there was a boat that used to go from Port Antonio over to Santiago de Cuba. So we took a domino team on that. And then all of the matches between Jamaica and UK and Barbados, Guyana, who came down to Jamaica in the 1990s. I was behind a lot of that. And fast forward into the 2000s, 2015, I facilitated was the source for the mobile blood collection unit. It was sent down for Jamaica, worked with other diaspora organizations to facilitate a lot of medical equipment and equipment for schools. So I've been doing that for a few years. Then I've done a lot of community economic development work, particularly with the tourism, community tourism, country style, led by Dinah McIntyre Pike. And I've put on various events. And so I've been heavily involved in the diaspora movement and continue to do so.
Yes,
and look forward to working with Hermitage, because at the moment I'm working on and I was appointed as the co-chair for Jamaica 55 activities in the UK, and now of course we're working on Jamaica 60, which is next year, 2022. We're working on that now.
beautiful. You, Rudi Page, when I look at you and all the many things that you have done, and looking at you, you look. I would pass you as one of my classmates. So I would love to ask, though, oh, how did you started in your first time starting in this philanthropy movements?
And that's a good that's a good question, because my role models in the 1980s, so we're now talking about when I was in my 20s, the 1980s, I worked for the time, the largest Caribbean owned business in London was actually owned by two Jamaicans and a man from Montserrat. So Len Dyke and Dudley Dryden. And their company called Dyke and Dryden was as I said, the largest importer of hair products from America and even from Jamaica, particularly the Jamaican black castor oil. That's always been a big seller over in Europe. And I worked for them as a sales and marketing manager. And they were about business, but they always had the community at heart. It was always about how many jobs, how many young people they could encourage, how many other businesses that they could start and help to flourish. At one time, we were the largest provider of trade credit to Caribbean businesses throughout the whole of the UK. In those days, when it was difficult for our community to actually get businesses up and running and get the credit that they needed, so that they were like the cornerstone. It was a cornerstone business. So I saw from close hand what it's like to do business, but still help people, not expect anything in return, but part of a system of training young people, supporting them, supporting other business people, and working in collaboration. And it does work for many people. The more people that collaborate, the more people that will benefit. So I've kept that in mind over the years.
And I heard about a lot of movements within Africa that um you have you started a couple of movements
Yeah,
in Africa. Could you
yeah,
just enlighten us about,
yeah.
in
So
depth about some of these?
my first visit to Africa was South Africa, Soweto. So I put together a trade mission with another business partner of mine called Patrick Berry. Many years ago in the UK, the number one radio station in our community was actually again started by two Jamaicans, Patrick Berry and Neil Kenlock. Choice FM. Choice FM was a big radio station in the UK a few years ago. So Patrick
Mhm.
and myself wanted to do business with South Africa. I wanted to go there, wanted to, you know, new territories. I'm a new territories person. Let's go there and find out what's going on and see what we can do. So we arranged a visit there. So we're in Joburg, and I was on television. I was asked to go and do a talk on the national TV, and everybody else went to visit somewhere. I can't remember where they went. So when I came out the studio, I thought, well, okay, I'm on my own. Let me go to Soweto, because growing up, I always saw you know, the,
Mhm.
the young people in Soweto. It was about their rights, and they're going to demand their rights, whatever the price. There's a price to be paid. So I always admired the young people of Soweto.
What kind of assistance you when you visit the African continent?
Mm.
Um, what are some of the things you see, that you could assist with, and what have you done there?
And the key thing, it's a good point, was I focused on education. So when I got into Soweto, I was asking the taxi driver different questions, and then I saw he took me to there's the monument, the Hector Peterson Museum. There's that famous picture of the young boy carrying another young boy who I think had been shot.
Yeah.
So that boy is called Hector Peterson. So I said, "Oh, leave me here." And so I went around the museum just again to understand the culture, understand that. And then as I came out, I looked across and I saw a school. So I just walked across to the school and asked to speak. I wanted to speak to the headmaster. And the school had finished by then, and he just happened to be locking up the gate. And I said, "Oh, I come from London, and I'd like to, understand more about this school. And then I connected that school with a school in London and developed almost, an exchange program. And in the end, that headmaster did find his way to London through my, making that initial link. So my thing is about education in answer to what your question. So I did the same thing when I first went to Ghana. I went to Accra, and I was so pleased because I was working on a project, and and we donated computers to a school, to a secondary school, a junior secondary school. So we helped set up a computer lab. So I went there to see the project and to oversee it, and as part of the launch. And then of course we went up to Cape Castle, one of the old forts where, once you went in that fort, that was it. You were, shipped across the ocean to wherever you were going to be shipped.
Yes.
And what was great about that, they have there's a door called the Door of No Return.
No return, yes.
Yeah? So you walk through it and then you come back through again, the door of return. So I always remember saying that, I went out, walked out, looked across the sea, which you can't believe, psychologically, and it's good for your cultural esteem and the heritage even to experience that, and then came back through the door of no return. So when I gave my speech the next day, I said to them that I came back through the door of no return, and maybe I've been here before. It's great for me because then also I had a similar experience. I was in Sierra Leone. I went to Freetown in Sierra Leone, and I helped with a small livestock project. And again, given Sierra Leone's history, when you look back to 200 years, and there's a tree in the middle of Freetown that was there 200 years ago, and it's all in all the books. So then to go there in this modern times and see that same tree, it's still there. But when they settled Sierra Leone, that tree was there.
Mm-hmm.
With, the former enslaved people, and how they got there, from what they'd been through. It kind of shows the determination, man's determination, that we think we've had it hard, but that's one thing you realize. Actually, we are definitely being given opportunity to make improvement and advance from where we are.
In some ways, it kind of brought you back to your roots. It give you that kind
absolutely. It's important, and it's important to go back to the Caribbean. It's important for Caribbean people to know Africa, so that you actually really understand your line and heritage. Because I've taken my children back to Jamaica, so they actually understand, they've seen the graves of their great grandfather and what have you. But it's also important for Caribbean people to go back to Africa as well, and not be distracted thinking that somehow they're separate from the African continent.
You speak about your children. Do you want to expound a little bit more and tell us how many kids and names and so on? Because knowing you, Rudi, you're a special person. I have so much respect, for a Rudi Page. And you speaking now about your kids. Let us know a little bit more about them.
Yeah, I call them kids. They're big people. So my eldest child is 39 years old. so it's hardly children. I know you could be my son, Sean.
Yes. Hope so. I so that you know how old I am.
So my eldest daughter was 39.
Mm-hmm.
That's Leanne Page. Then I've got a son, Warren Page. Warren is about 4 years younger than Leanne, and then I've got Francesca Page, who's about 31. Then I've got Lewis Page, he's a couple of years younger than Francesca. So 4.
Yes, yes. I wouldn't look at you and know all that, though. You know what I mean? Speaking, we're going to speak a little bit now about your achievement in the Domino
Yes.
program. The
Yeah.
Domino program in Jamaica here, Domino is actually a sport for us. So
Absolutely.
yes, Domino has been that little thing that keep us together. You know,
Yeah.
keep the corners together. You know,
Yeah.
keep the senior person who come on them who call the big man, the big
That's
man, keep them together and keep them having something to do, some
right.
extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
Tell us about your involvement in Dominoes and what that have done for
Yeah.
you.
It's a good question. Many people, our people don't understand the power of dominoes from a cultural perspective
Hmm.
and what it can do to help us advance.
Right.
And I can really talk about the UK dominoes players that were really the driving force of dominoes in the 90s, that relationship between the UK and Jamaica. So there's competition, that linkage. So very quickly, in 1991, that was the first major domino trip to Jamaica from the UK. So they always had their competitions. So there was a national competition, and that was one from a team from Sheffield, and they beat Cosmopolitan, which was a top London team at the time.
Okay.
Everybody expected the London team to win. You know, London, we
Yeah.
expect to win everything, you know, in the
Yes.
UK, Londoners. And somehow Sheffield won, but it was to do with fate. I really believe in fate. Fate
Mhm.
organizes our lives.
Yes.
Anyway, so I I was asked,
Who you were carrying? Sheffield or the other team?
well, I would have supported
London.
London. I would have supported London, being a Londoner anyway. But you
Okay.
know what, though, Sean? I wasn't actually involved in dominoes. I only went to the domino match by chance
Hmm.
with a friend of mine. Said, "Oh, really? Come to this domino match in Brixton Town Hall." It was, and I said, "Well, okay," because I didn't get involved in dominoes at all. I had a pack of dominoes at home, which I played with for the kids. So every Christmas, at least, and every birthday, if we're in, we play dominoes. I always had that in the household, right, as a family thing. But I was never involved in. I didn't know anything about the competitions or anything like that. So I said, "Yeah, I'll go along." And then the big competition trophy, the mayor's there and everything. And then they said, "Oh, we're going to, British Airways is, sponsoring a trip to Jamaica." And then somebody said that was asking, "Well, who's going to organise it and what have you?" And somebody, my friend said, "Well, Rudi Page does that type of thing. I'll ask him." So I just said to them, "Oh, what's the itinerary for the trip then?" And somebody said that, "What itinerary? What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you've got to have some itinerary for when you get to Jamaica, where the match is, They said, "Oh, go on, man, you organize it." So I said, "Okay." And it was as simple as that. So
Okay.
I said, "Okay, I'll organize it." So organized the trip. And what was great about it over the years is that there were many people who had never been back to Jamaica since they came to England at that time. And because of dominoes and their love for dominoes, they became part of that group of people who traveled, right? And that's why
Yeah.
dominoes is about the spectators, it's about the people. It's not just about the players. The players are important, but they're not really more important than everybody else because it's a collective effort. What makes it great? A domino match is great because of the spectators and everybody's shouting. It gets the players going. You get that energy.
Yes.
So I organized the tour in 1991 then, and which of course 30 years ago this year, isn't it? And that was successful. With Jamaica National put on a reception, and the team, as I said, Sheffield, who won who won the match, so went to Jamaica as the winners and got all of the plaudits, and the London team just had to, humble themselves. Hey, runners up. When you like it, you're runners up. Sometimes, which they did with grace. And then, and the great thing is that there was a lady there who for years had been the stalwart of bringing the domino players together around England, supporting and arranging matches between the different towns and everything. And lo and behold, she was actually in Jamaica at that time. And she was honored for what she had done for Jamaicans in England for the domino world, even though now she was back in Jamaica, retired.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody could believe it, that, so fate works in a certain way, doesn't it? It really does, and that was great. And then so that was successful. And in fact, what happened as usual, and this is where the rivalry comes in between England and Jamaica now, the Sheffield team, right, were playing all of these Jamaican teams, obviously, and getting beaten up in all the matches. So the Londoners had to help them, give them some strength to, represent. They couldn't just keep getting beaten. And all the boasting that you get from the Jamaicans, continuing boasting, right? So they combined the team.
You mitigate the damage. You mitigate the damage, Rudy, to join forces to try and beat up some Jamaicans. Tell us about that.
No, people say I was behind it, but it's not true. It's not true. I just said, guys, work together. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I said the Jamaicans like to work together. That's all I said. Work together, right? And then, and what the big breakthrough at the time for us in Jamaica was that there was the late Senator Alfred Rattray, and he sent a message to the group, and he said that he wanted to meet the person who would organize that domino match, and that. So I went along to his offices in Kingston, in town. So that was Rattray, Patterson, Rattray, the solicitors, lawyers, I should say. And he asked me about the tour. I explained what we did, and he said that it's really good, and whatever tour I'm doing for Jamaica, just let him know whatever assistance he can give, then he would support it. And that was the big breakthrough for Domino's at the time, because every tour then we always had a government minister would meet the team at the airport, or the teams, and then we'd have a launch reception in Kingston at one of the hotels, and that, so again it lifted the self-esteem of the players, in their uniforms and their smartness.
Yes.
And then Jamaica at the time as well. Now they had two teams wanting to represent Jamaica. There's a bit of rivalry,
Yes.
And I went to a meeting in Duke Street in September 1992, and told them, we're not coming all the way from England. There can only be one team, a combined team. Yes. And I selected a Mr. Pinnock and his team because they were talking about discipline, rules, organization, and that we should treat this as a team sport. It is a sport. Mm-hmm. So anything when it comes to human endeavor that's competitive is a sport. And it's down to the culture of the people and the leadership and the structure that determines whether society is going to take you seriously.
Yes.
And support what you're doing.
Yes.
While you're on that note, I tell you, as I said, it's Mr. Rudi action page. One
Okay.
day will never complete, Mr. Rudi. I wanna just do my little 2 cent here. How did I meet Mr. Rudi? And today is a very special day for both me and Sean. I just want to bring in focus that I'm a part of the diaspora that Mr. Rudi is a part of. And Studio 99 is in Jamaica and I'm in Connecticut. And Rudi make a connection between the city of the community of Hermitage. That's why we're here. And we spoke, and not only did he make a connection by just talking, he also allowed Student 1990 and the community of Hermitage to be on his show. Leadership. We are on different seminar, and one of our project is to embark in exporting reggae, and I've outlined that to Mr. Rudi Page, and he didn't wait. He went on board, he took it, and we're having one of the most historical event coming up in February. And Mr. Rudi has planned it, and Sean has been a great instrument. Shooter 99 have been really behind it with the Uptown Linkup, the Hermitage Citizen Association. So if you can elaborate and just give me what is the great plan for Hermitage and yourself in this era?
Yes. What is important about the term we use? We talk about transforming local communities, and the way you transform a local community, you transform with an aim that says that what we want to do, we want to create a lifelong 21st century skills legacy. And 21st century skills are simple, has four basic skills: collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking. But we've added entrepreneurship, and we've also added social hospitality skills. And so it's about inspiring an inclusive, peaceful, caring, and enterprising clusters. So whether you're in the creative industries, whether you're in community economic tourism, whether you're in health, whether you're in the hair care, it doesn't matter. It's about the cluster in your neighborhood. And most important, youth development is essential. Community economic well-being, and even something we call sustainable engineering. What do we mean by that? A couple of years ago, I was at Knox College and I was speaking to the engineering students there. And I think one of the lecturers asked me to speak to class. And I said to the young people, I said that when you're at Knox College here in Mandeville, this was, or just outside Mandeville. So I said, what are the issues in your neighborhood are you going to address when you leave this college? Because you're learning all these skills, technical skills. So that's why it's important that we think about our neighborhoods and our local communities, the issues that need to be addressed. And then lastly, civic participation is important. And you get that by linking with other communities around the world. And that's the importance in terms of Hermitage is a model in this what we call COVID post-pandemic era. And it's about relationships and using digital, so digital innovation and services. And what Sean's been doing with the Studio 99 is a good example about digital innovation. But we've got to translate to using digital for learning. Music is important, but learning new skills, building relationships, improving communication, that will be the next step where we go with Hermitage. The Reggae Month next week is a very good start. The work we've done on Kingston 7 Beats is a good start, but we've got to move into that area of learning and skills. Because the term that you use when in youth development, what we say is that young people need somewhere to go. Young people need something to do. Young people need someone to show them how. And we
Yes.
have to transition into this digital world. It's really important, and think about how we do that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. As my final question is, on behalf of Jamaica, on behalf of the community of Hermitage, I tell you, my little 2 cent, you have been a role model for me to be a part of the diaspora. And because I've heard about it over the years and I've seen people involved in it, and I was thinking that this was just a talk show. And but when I said talk show, I didn't really understand what the
Yeah.
type of work and the strength and the support that they give back to Jamaica. And I've been an ambassador in the field of scouting for over the past 30 years. So when it comes to representation, I have met the past from 87, all the ambassadors that represent Jamaica into the United States. I've been in camp 30, 40 different countries, and I'm the only Jamaican that's there. So when you talk about representation, we are here representing the country. And what we're doing now is for people on the island to appreciate and know what we're doing to try to build the country, the community, and so whatever we can do. It's not about funding sometimes, but sometimes just that love that we have for Jamaica. And having someone like Studio 99 and Hermitage, it's a product that people can see what their investment is in. So once again, on behalf of Jamaica and behalf of Hermitage, this is my last piece before I turn it over to Sean. I want to thank you, Rudi, for all the service that you're doing. And time, words cannot express how thankful we are for what you have been contributing to the country of Jamaica and to England and to the global world, Africa. As I said, the Rudi never stop working, Rudi Page. Thank you, Sean.
It's a Rudi Foundation you're talking about. Yes, Mr. Rudi, Fresh FM.
Yes.
It is fascinating how you have been representing um this natural hair product for many years, but yet still I'm not seeing any hair on your head. Right?
So you haven't seen the old pictures when I had locks then?
No, I haven't.
I will WhatsApp you when we finish just to prove my locks.
Okay, so we can do some work in that area,
Big
in
time.
that area to kind of bring the youths into that kind of thing. Fresh FM,
Mm.
Radio London. Tell us a little bit about Fresh FM Radio London, how that started. Tell us about it.
Fresh FM Radio London. So that was started by my good friend Owen Winter, DJ Blacker, about 5 years ago, and he uh, got together a group of DJs because again, great vision. He said, look, in the future, it's going to be about digital radio stations. So we're used to FM stations, as you know, you hear in your car and what have you. And he said at the time, 5 or 6 years ago, it's gonna go digital. And he was doing his best to get the DJs to understand that it's not about going to drive into a studio anymore. It's all on your laptop and everything, and you run it the whole station from your laptop. And then basically um, he was left standing on his own almost.
Okay, yes.
So I said, I'll come in, and and bring my linkages and my network of
Your expertise as
etc.
Mr. Rudi Page.
So I came in as director of cultural and commercial affairs because my way of looking at things, because I produce quite a lot of TV programs actually for cable television, and again I've always thought, well, this communication should be used for learning and development and culture and cultural esteem, cultural awareness. And if we're going digital, it makes sense to start to prepare to use that channel, that medium for that. And that's how I really got involved. And then I started to link it with my other sort of business activities relating to health and well-being, community development, and then utilizing the station. Then I said that what we should be doing is inspiring our community. So that's why you see the slogan for Fresh FM Radio London is inspired music and culture.
Mm.
And it's very carefully nurtured and defended, those words,
Yes,
inspired
yes.
music
And
and
culture.
culture. And what is
Nice.
culture? How I explain it to people, culture is the unseen strand that binds people together.
Mm-hmm.
And given the power of Jamaican culture, when it's translated into community human development, is very powerful, because the great words are in the music
When you,
and the vision, the sound and vision
yes.
to teach.
But last and finally, when you a Rudi page, let me give you generally. When a Rudi page look at Jamaica, you come to Jamaica a couple of times, you know, host a couple of events and so on. When you look at Jamaica, you know, in your eyes, and I am assuming that you're looking at where you're living now, would you would you retire in Jamaica?
Absolutely. I wish I was in Jamaica now.
Well, there we have it, Mr. Rudi Page. This is Uptown Linkup, and we need to do some more linking up with
Yeah,
persons across the diaspora. We
absolutely.
just have Mr. Rudi Page and Mr. Dean Roden. A wonderful chat, and we hope to have you again some other time, Mr.
Absolutely.
Page.
Look forward.
Thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah. And congratulations on the progress. You've done very well. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy for any community group coming from a neighborhood where resources are tight, and then to go into an international market where there's a lot of demands, because you know there's bigger resources, so there's a demand.
Yeah,
But you've risen to the challenge,
I've
and,
been
and it will pay off. It will pay off.
I've been practicing. I've been doing my stuff, you know, quite a while, you know,
Good.
and I guess as you said, it is faith that
Mm,
have driven us to where we are now.
yeah,
And you know, I thank you. I thank you for actually enhancing that. You know what I mean? I thank you for being there, doing what you do, you know, and seeing things in our light and making things happen. To you, Mr. Rudy
absolutely.
Page, I lift my hats. I don't have any hat on today, but I lift my hats off
But
to
my,
you.
my last message for you,
Yes.
my advice that I would give you. Years ago, they Jamaica's cultural policy, brilliantly written,
Mhm.
2008. It goes, and it's Jamaica towards a cultural super state. You need to read that.
Okay.
Really, I'm always telling people, read that particular policy. Jamaica towards a cultural super state.
Cultural, towards a cultural super states.
All the answers are in that document.
Okay.
If you have faith,
Okay.
it'll tell you what to do
Will do.
and how.
Will do.
It's a
Thank you.
how. It's a
Thank
how,
you.
which is the most important bit.
Yes. Thank you. Will do. Will do. There we have it, Mr. Rudi Page.